Today, I'm going to be talking about this version of myself here because I was going through YouTube and there was this video. This young lady does a bunch of videos, by the way, and I binged like 10 of her videos. I think they're so funny. I think they're great. And I also found like a lot of humor in it. And also, like, the word fat does not offend me at all. I'm not offended by the word fat. As someone who lost the weight and is now in a different body, I'm not offended by that word. So, anyways, I wanted to talk about how did I get here? How did I end up in a weight loss journey? As someone who has always been a smaller person, how did I end up on a weight loss journey? Out of all the people, I just didn't think it would be me, but it was me. And in the real phenomenon where like people leave the military and they gain like all this weight is real. It is very real. It is not fake. Do not think it's fake. If I could give anybody any type of advice before they leave the military, it is don't get fat. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's ghetto. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad. Okay, so let's talk about how I got here because I think that this perspective is probably going to resonate or probably like let people know that maybe you're bordering those things and you might be going through some stress. I don't know. Anyways, I have always been thin. I was never a big person. Growing up, I've always been thin. I've always been very active. I've always exercised. I've always been a busy person. So even though like, you know, I would exercise, I mean, I don't know what, like, I guess even when I was younger, when I was in high school and I was in high school and I had a job, I always found time to work out. And also, like, when I was in the military, you're expected to do a certain amount of exercise, and it is your job, literally your job, to wake up and go exercise every single day, unless you're sick. And being sick means that like you had surgery or a procedure which takes you out and puts you like on a temporary like light duty exercise type of program. And also, I want to say like if you are injured, like I got injured, right? But you're still expected to show up and like go for a walk, do your push-ups, do your sit-ups, do your running. You're supposed to do cardio and also like muscle strength building. So the stuff that I was doing in the military just kind of like, it was always something active. And even on like on the weekends, whenever like we would have like a long weekend, I would still somehow find a way to be active. So I was so used to that. I was so used to constantly being active. I didn't think that leaving the military would completely change my life and flip it upside down. Also, when I was in the military, I had a couple of battles. I'm not going to mention their names, but they were brutally honest. Okay. Like I remember this one time. And if you don't know what the word battle is, it is literally like your friend in the military. Y'all look out for each other. It is a forever friend, honestly. It really is. All of the people that I call battle, I still talk to them till this day. And it's because of the trauma bond, because the army does that to you. So, anyways, I had this battle. He pulls me to the side and he's like, "Hey, battle, you looking a little fluffy," like basically saying like your uniform is starting to look a little constrained on you. And I'm like, really? But I will say this much. It was our job to stay fit, to stay within a certain appearance. And if you're starting to fall out of appearance or not comply with the regulation, they can kick you out. So I appreciate my battle buddies who were doing this for me. But in the military, you were expected to do that. So on top of that, you're told what to eat, when to eat, where to go. You're given a lunch break at a certain time. So it's very, very much like, your day-to-day routine just kind of becomes very much the same. So you find times to go work out, right? Or to do things. Now, I left the military but I did not change my eating habits at all. And I'm going to say this much. When I was in the military, I did not have the best eating habits. I was drinking Red Bulls, I was eating bad because you're just so, for me, like I was so active all the time. I didn't think that coming out would be such a bad thing if I just didn't work out. And I just like, you know, I didn't really think of that the working out part was such a huge factor in the fact that I was maintaining a specific weight. I didn't think that the whole like me being active part was going to make was going to completely break down like the way that my body functions. I didn't think about that. So basically, I get out and I start a job right away, but it's not a very good paying job. I don't have a good paying job, and I'm supposed to be starting school, and I just lose myself within the job and the school. I don't have any time for anything. I'm eating bad. I mean, I'm like waking up and drinking a Red Bull on the way to work. I'm drinking a Red Bull on the way to school, and I'm drinking a Red Bull to study. So I'm getting about a couple of hours of sleep in between. I'm not eating right. I'm ordering hamburgers, pizza, um, tacos. I mean, you name it. And it was like I was just kind of indulging in everything, chips, anything to stay awake, right? So like even when I was like studying, I would like literally pull up like if I had to write like a thesis, for example, like a 20-page thesis, which I had to do in a class, I literally had like bread, cookies, chips, soda, Red Bull, coffee, like on my desk. And that is exactly how, because I knew that I was going to be spending a significant amount of time doing research and trying to write this paper. I don't know, like in my head, it just made sense to have everything at my desk. That is the worst idea ever. Don't do that to yourself. It is so bad. Definitely have better snacks. I could have chosen fruits and vegetables, something that was a little bit more aligned with not so many calories. Anyways, um, I basically became diabetic. And my doctor started to warn me when I started going to the doctor, like, hey, you're kind of becoming pre-diabetic. Like you might want to watch what you're eating. Don't drink so many sweets. Don't eat so much rice. Don't eat so many potatoes. He gave me like this chart to go over and the things that I shouldn't be eating and the things that I should really be careful around. But I did not listen. I did not care. I was like, I gotta finish this job and I have to finish this degree. I'm not about to quit. I basically just said, you know what? My health is going to take a back seat for now because I'll be able to just lose the weight. Oh my God, was I so wrong? That was the worst advice I could have given myself. Okay, like don't give yourself bad advice. And if you're going to give yourself bad advice, have someone who's willing to be honest with you. Like that battle that I had where he was like, you getting a little too big for your uniform. Like we all need that friend in our lives. Okay. Like tell me the truth. Don't let me allow me to fail me. Like let me know when I'm being delusional because that is exactly what happened. I was being so delusional thinking to myself that I was going to just be able to eat all this food when I left the army and not exercise and not be active and that I would be okay. That no, no, that's not how that works. You know, I think that if I would have changed my eating habits along with a little bit of exercise, I should have done that. Anyways, it is 2018. I'm pre-diabetic. I go to the doctor, and mind you, I left the military in 2015. So in 2018, it's been what, about 3 years. And I weigh myself, and I am in shock. I am 221 pounds. I left the military at 140. 140. I have gained 90 pounds. I am so embarrassed and so ashamed now that I look back and I'm like, you literally ate yourself into misery. And that's exactly how that happened. So I'm pre diabetic. The doctor's like, you need to get on a diet plan. We need to do better. And I told them, okay, it is what it is. Then, then I start to work for this agency around 2019. And this is one of the hardest jobs that yes, the military sucked because it came with a lot of like demands that were just sometimes just ridiculous. And like sometimes you do things. I'm telling you, that trauma bond happens for a reason because you're like letting you're literally doing silly things, right? Like I have this one battle. I'm not gonna talk about him, but we had to sweep sand one time in Iraq because we were acting out and somebody was like, oh, y'all want to waste my time? I'm gonna go ahead and just make you go ahead and waste your time. So we were with brooms out there sweeping. I'm so sorry. Anyways, that's what I mean by like we have trauma bonds. That's why. Anyways, I don't know how I got there. Long story short, it's 2019. I'm working a super stressful job. It's one of the hardest jobs that you're ever going to hear about. Nobody talks about it because when you have this job, you have to sign a confidentiality agreement and there's a clause that comes with it. So therefore, like you're never going to really find out the reality behind it. And then people come out of that job either traumatized and they don't want to talk about it, or you stay there and then you really can't talk about it because that would violate confidentiality policy in the clauses in the anyways, that's just one of those jobs where if it's a first responder job that rarely gets thanked for what they do. I'll just say that much. Anyways, I'm working that job. I am so miserable working this job. And I tell myself I'm going to go ahead and move back home because I'm not from Houston, Texas. This is where I was at the time. I'm going to go ahead and move back home because I'm just not happy. I'm not happy. Something is mentally wrong with me. I'm eating myself to death. And this is when I start to have like that moment of like awareness that I am this big because I look at that scale and I'm like, I am in shock. And not only am I in shock, I didn't see me gaining weight from 140 up to 220 pounds. So because I buried my head in the sand and I refused to weigh myself and I refused to like really look at things, I didn't even notice it. And it's this time too, like I was the clothes that I shopped for happened to somehow still fit me. It was just like a little bit tighter. But I went from like wearing like a medium. I wear a medium now, okay? But I wear a women's medium. Back then I was wearing like a junior's medium. So this is technically a women's small, okay? So I went from wearing like junior's medium to a women's XXL, and that wasn't fitting me anymore. I don't know how to even go back to that time in my life. And I feel so sorry for that version of myself. I really do, because I had to fake happiness, smiles, appearances. I didn't want to be, and the reason that there's not a lot of pictures of me at that time is because I just began to hide. I began to hide. I began to not want to see myself. I began to not want to take pictures. I got rid of mirrors. Anytime there was a picture taken, I was always the photographer. I was like, I don't take pictures. I'm gonna go ahead and take your picture for you, but y'all enjoy. I don't want to be in it, right? So that that's how we got here. We got here because there was just a lot of like denial, a lot of stress, and on top of that, there was just like I want to say that there was a lot of avoidance happening, and so I ended up on a weight loss journey. I did not realize that it would be so hard. I will say that sometimes people were bigger and then they lost the weight, and that's a whole different type of journey because you have to readjust to who you are. For me, losing the weight, being small, and then having all of that weight on me and then losing the weight again, it all became a blur. It is literally a blur. I am starting to forget how painful it was to be that big. And I don't want to forget that because I need that. I need to remember how difficult things were for me. I need to remember just how hard things were for me, but I'm forgetting it already. And I'm like, the other day, I think I was like eating like a little, here it is. See, speaking of the devil, okay? I did not finish it, okay? But I'm gonna show you all. I was eating this bag of animal crackers. I think I ate like, there's still like a lot of crackers in there, okay? Just so that you'll know. It's still pretty full, okay? I wanna say I took like 3 animal crackers and I looked at them and I was like, no. No, 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 no. We're not doing this again. Like I now have the discipline to walk away from things like that. And that is something that I lost somewhere between 2015 and 2018. I completely lost the discipline to be able to say no. I don't know where this binging attitude came from. I'm still dealing with mental health. I'm still going to all these groups trying to identify what is causing that binging behavior because I still don't know. Nobody knows. And I have not been treated. I just been kind of like attending groups here and there. I do go to counseling for a different reason sometimes, but it's not related to this, or it could be related to this. I just haven't been able to determine that. Okay, but that right there, having cookies at my desk right now, these cookies have been sitting here for maybe about 2 days now because I opened those and I took a couple and I was like, oh, these are sweet. I don't know if I could do this. Anyways, they're still sitting there. But 2018 version of me, those would have been gone in like, bam, one sitting. Give me 10 minutes, those cookies will be gone. And 10 minutes was generous because I was like I was eating so fast and so much. And you know how they tell you like don't eat fast, allow your stomach to like feel the food? That is just not something that I was used to doing. And that goes to show you too, like another bad habit that I picked up in the military is just eating fast and not allowing my stomach to settle. Because in the military, you eat fast, you may have to go burn 3,000 calories outside doing some whatever it is. Again, this is where those trauma bonds come in because we do some pretty stupid things. And then on top of that, you know, you may not get a break for a long time. And so sometimes people have snacks and you're like, hey, who wants some cookies? Me. But we needed those calories because of the amount of work we were doing outside. Now, were those good calories? No. We did need calories. We did need replenishment. I just don't know that it was the right replenishment. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. That's exactly how I ended up getting big. And if you want to watch those don't get fat videos, I'm going to go ahead and provide the the creator, the content creator down below. I love her stuff. I'm telling you, I'm gonna go after this video. I'm gonna go watch like 5 more of her videos. I think they're just. I wish I would have had that when I was like in 2015, but like I don't know if I had the time back then either. Like even if I was to travel back in time, I'm not really sure that things would have changed too much just because of the everything that happened. I'll be back with more videos about um things, how things change and how people change around you whenever you're gaining weight and losing weight, and also like how society, how like you notice like how society treats you different because they do. But that's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for listening to me yap, and I'll be back some other time.